Welcome back to the Hill of Truth, a steep, rutted, loose uphill I use for testing vehicles. The vehicles drive at the same line at a slow speed, and the idea is just to test them, not necessarily to get to the top of the hill. Today we've got Everest versus Challenger with a Forester thrown in as a cameo, and remember the Hill of Truth evolves over time, so it's not quite the same as you may have seen in previous videos. Subi up first, and it's a manual with only a 1.2 reduction, so not much of a low range, and road pressures and road tyres, so it's never going to get far on this steep shaly hill because it lacks articulation and gearing. You've got to drive it quite fast in order to keep the clutch up because of that not very low range. Now returning to the hill is the Ford Everest in low range in rock mode. Not super effective brake traction control, but you can see with a bit of wheel spin it is managing to get itself up the hill, but at some point it just gets to the point and goes, you know what, I just cannot go any further. Now we've got the Mitsubishi Challenger, an older vehicle with an older set of electronics, so therefore it's not as effective as the Everest, doesn't get quite as far. Also there's no rock mode or any form of adaptive terrain system on the Challenger. Here's the Everest again, still in rock mode with low range. This time it's got the rear cross-axle locker engaged. Check my other videos to understand what that is. And you notice that the vehicle only gets a little bit further up the hill than it did without the locker, but it did it easier. And sometimes that's the advantage of a locker. You can still get over the same thing, but a cross-axle locker, a good brake traction control, makes life just a little bit easier. You can just go up the obstacle a bit more slowly. And with the locker engaged, the brake traction control does work on the front axle, but not super effectively. And finally back to the Challenger, which now has its rear cross-axle locker engaged just like the Everest, and that does make a difference in this case, and the vehicle gets further up the hill. Had it had a front locker, then it would have got even further again. So if you're watching that and thinking, hang on, the Everest with and without the locker got to the same distance up the hill, you'd be right, but look how much easier it does it when the rear axle is locked. Now this is not to say that brake traction control is always inferior to a lock diff, far from it. You can see my other videos for that, but in this case it didn't make too much of a difference just how easy it was done, and that's a huge advantage of a locker. So thanks for watching. Please subscribe to this channel for more content on four-wheel drives, cars, towing, driving techniques and whatever else the readers might find interesting. Thanks.